evening and welcome. Tonight we will be going over the history and geography of Baghlan in Afghanistan. Baghlan is kind of in like north central Afghanistan. You can see the border up here with Tajikistan. This is Uzbekistan. This is Turkmenistan. And Kabul is not too terribly far. You can see Kabul region down here. There's Baghlan up here. You can see the town of Baghlan here, but that's actually not the capital. The capital is Pulikumri right here. And this region has lots of beautiful mountains and hills all throughout, with beautiful river valleys. Pretty much anywhere you see towns, that's where a river is located. They're all along the rivers here, with lots of beautiful farmlands, mainly growing cotton and things like fruit trees, nuts, and stuff like that. To be honest, that's all I've got for geography. It's pretty much like you can see all these empty areas here. It's just mountainous, beautiful terrain. And unfortunately, I won't be pulling out the tablet tonight. I know a lot of you really enjoy the tablet, but there just really aren't that many pictures here in Baghlan. There are lots of shots of the rivers, of the mountains, but I feel like I've shown you very similar pictures when I've covered other areas of Afghanistan. I've done Badakhshan, you can see up here, and Badghis is just right over there. It's kind of like a combination of the two. Like you've got the mountains and beautiful valleys and rivers kind of combined. So there's not a lot of pictures, but I imagine if you've seen my other Afghanistan pictures, you can imagine what it looks like. Most of the pictures here are people taking selfies, so I'm not about to show that. Very sadly, I looked up pictures of this right here. You can see, I'm not quite sure how to pronounce it. I've seen it spelled like 500 different ways at this point. But essentially, this was a Zoroastrian fire temple. There aren't really any pictures of it now, probably because it's been ripped apart, and all of the significant pieces are in the National Museum in Kabul. It's just a very plain archaeological site with not a lot there. So there's no pictures there. It's very sad. But yes, a Zoroastrian fire temple. So you might think, wow, it must have been a very important Zoroastrian place. And no, it was not. There are inscriptions on the temple about the Kushan Empire, which did rule in this area. This temple was created during the time of Emperor Kanishka, who reigned from 127 to 150 CE. He wasn't Zoroastrian. The Kushan Empire was primarily Hindu with some Buddhist elements. But clearly the Zoroastrians here in the area marked down the time in history when they created this temple. If you don't know, fire is extremely important to Zoroastrianism. And if you don't know what Zoroastrianism is, it is a religion from Persia, which is now Iran. And it was one of, if not the very first, monotheistic religions, in that they pray to one God. In Zoroastrian, there's two gods, one good, one evil. So obviously, you pray to the good God. At least I'd hope you would, right? They do. And this area really was just, I assume, just very simple farmland for a long time. There's lots of notes about how in the 13th century CE through like the 15th, 16th centuries, this area was controlled by various tribes that were descended from the Mongols / Turkic, I would say, Turk. I've seen it described as Turco-Mongol. So the Turkic peoples, you can see Turkmenistan's literally right here. And then the Mongols are from just literally right up there. So a combination of those, I suppose, intermarried and all of that. But a lot of information comes out of this place starting in the 1940s. For whatever reason, I could not find the reason, and if anyone does know, let me know. But the Czechs started to really heavily invest in this area. I don't know if it's because of the Soviet influence, which would have been just right up here. Maybe the Soviets were like, let's funnel some money into this farmland, and they nudged the Czech Republic like, okay, we have to pick one of our peoples to go, you, the Czechs, go here. So the Czechs came in and built quite a bit of industry, like farming industry, not like huge factories or anything. Primarily, they brought beets with them and taught people how to extract the sugar from sugar beets to produce sugar. And they also established the coal mining industry, which is still going on to this day in Baghlan. But obviously the Soviets got really involved in the 1970s, 1980s, when the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan. Now it seems like pretty much every area of Afghanistan went one way or the other. They either leaned into the Soviets and were like, sure, we'll help you invade, why not? The other fought back very fiercely. They were known as the Mujahideen, and they were very determined, fierce, rebel guerrilla fighters who fought back extremely against the Soviets. The Taliban was a Mujahideen group. That's how they got started. But I didn't realize that there was a third. I did not realize there was a third that occurred here in Baghlan, and it had to do with the, I just blinked, the Sayed of Kayan. So to rewind a little bit, the Sayed of Kayan is Ismaili, and the Ismaili people would have migrated to the Kayan Valley here, the river Kayan Valley. In the 1500s, they were fleeing from the Safavid Persians because they were Shia. They were Shiite Muslims. They were being persecuted there in Persia. So they ran over here and sought shelter here. And most people here at the time, from what I can tell, were like Hindu or Buddhist, or maybe a mixture of the two. So they were left alone, for the most part, from what I can tell, until they slowly rose to power. The Sayed is the spiritual leader of the Ismaili, I guess, tribe, clan, people. Sort of like an imam, an important spiritual leader. And the main, I guess, clan of the Ismaili at this time were the Naderi. The patriarch of the Naderi was the Sayed of Kayan. So the Soviets invade, and they say, you know what, Soviet Union, why not? We'll lean into this. We don't mind communism. You can put bases here. We'll help you out. But they also said to the Mujahideen, sure, you can pass through, do whatever you need, just no violence here. Don't attack any of our regions. And the Mujahideen were accepting of that. So they really straddled both sides. They played both parts of the game, I suppose, siding with the Soviets and the people fighting against the Soviets. And they actually filmed a documentary about this area during that time called The Warlord of Kayan, which was about the son of the Sayed. And apparently it's streaming on everything right now. I just looked it up right before filming out of curiosity, so I should probably watch that after this. It sounds quite interesting. So they were set up in a way so that whatever happened, they would be set in theory. But unfortunately, that was not to be. Well, first of all, I should quickly note that in 1989, they moved the capital from Baghlan to Pulikumri, just to be more convenient. It's there in the valley, right? It's closer to Kabul and all of that. But like I said, the Taliban was a mujahideen. That's how they got their start when the Soviets invaded. And the Taliban would wind up during the 1990s taking over almost the entirety of Afghanistan. And the Naderi really fought back against them and resisted that, and would eventually lose, and they would try to reclaim their land many times during Taliban control, but were not able to. So kind of unfortunate when you play both sides like that. You get, well, they were going to get invaded no matter what, let's be real. But after the United States coalition forces invaded Afghanistan in 2001 and pushed the Taliban out of power, the Sayed of Kayan resumed power here. And the Naderi family was once again in control. And they kind of went all out. A lot of the Sayed's sons and his daughter went into Afghan politics, advising I guess it was president, right? President, being governor of Baghlan. His daughter, I think, was on the Supreme Court or worked with the Supreme Court to push women's rights. But my favorite has to be that the Naderi funded the world's largest handmade Quran, which was displayed in Kabul. Just for funsies. Why not? Why not fund the world's largest handmade Quran? Which sounds like it would have been quite a feat to complete, right? But the Taliban slowly rose back to power, and as the American coalition forces left Afghanistan, the Taliban replaced them. The Taliban had controlled the region by like mid-2021, like August 2021. And I really couldn't find anything about where this family currently is, other than they're still alive. During the first Taliban takeover, they fled to Uzbekistan, so they could be there. But I didn't find anything about their whereabouts post-2021, so we hope all is well. When I went to search recent news about this area, I saw that 2 months from filming this, so it's July, so in May 2024, there were terrible flooding. They had torrential rain, the rivers flooded. Many hundreds of people lost their lives in the flood, and that's very sad. What a terrible thing to happen to your little peaceful community. So I hope all is well with that. And that is essentially where we are today in Baghlan. I really hope that all is well and all is peaceful. That's all I can really hope for, right? So I really wish we could go to the tablet, but it would be like a minute long. There's no point in me setting all that up and turning out the lights. It would take longer to set up the shot than to film it. But I do encourage you, Google Earth is free. You can go check it out for yourself and see if you can find any cool sites here. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this style of content, please consider subscribing. We're definitely going to be whipping out the tablet tomorrow because we're heading to Nepal. And not just any part of Nepal, we are heading to the region that is home to Kathmandu. I almost said Timbuktu. Kathmandu, the capital of Nepal. And we're going to see Durbar Square and some beautiful, beautiful Himalayan mountains. So be sure to subscribe so you won't miss out. I hope that you found this video to be relaxing and educational. And I hope that you have a good